All right, as always, we must check sound. Let's see what we got here.
What a day, what a day.
Okay. That was yesterday's stream. Epic. All right, let me listen to this one. And let me turn on my Bluetooth. Let's see if we hear that. Sound is good. All right, so I spent the day doing nothing, which I gotta kind of stop doing. I've been eating a lot, not working out on the weekends like I should be. I've been just spending time being lazy. Good and bad, but I did do quite a bit of work on the infrastructure for the Obfuscate bot app. A part of why I'm doing this because on Fridays I want to get back to doing the fat stuff, the financial asset tracker app or web app. I want to get back to working with that, but a problem I'm having is I have two instances of MongoDB, two different apps running on the same server. So I'm running into issues with that I just, you don't see unless you actually have that environment, especially in my case. So that's, of course, due to lack of experience. And that's a part of why we do these things, right? This is why we we go through these, the different tests and the different, not the tests. Ooh, Shishomaru. This is a really nice piece. This is why we go through all the different courses. This is why we go through the online quizzes. This is why we look at code snippets. This is why we find little things and little projects to do just so we can see if we can, test who we are as coders, test how good we are, how bad we are, where are we lacking. One of my biggest things that I definitely lack or that I find myself, I'm left wanting, I guess, and I need a lot of work in it, is working with other people. Not that I can't work with a group of people or anything like that, or work in a team. No, it's more or less like coding in a team, which is a different aspect. Having a proper coding pipeline, a CI/CD pipeline. So constant, I think it's like constant integration, constant deployment, or continuous integration, continuous deployment. So it's like, I don't know what that's like because just like, who am I working with? And I've actually thought about, working to work with someone or thinking about reaching out to other people to code with them on a project, something kind of big where maybe I can actually well, not big, but bigger than what I've worked on, just so I can try and help them and gain experience and see if I can help out. I was looking at the FS Avenger website and I'm like, man, there's just like so many things that could be done better on this website that are just not. And a part of that, I think, I don't know how many people he has working with him on that. He's a brother of the space. But a part of that is because of, it's just manpower, to code all this stuff, to actually work with it on a regular basis and things like that. So I want to see if I can try and help out with that. So I'll probably reach out to the guy. I've been thinking about it for a while. There's a lot of things I've been thinking about that I don't do. But one of them definitely is trying to work with other people on different projects. So back to what I was running into. I was running into issues with MongoDB. I was running also into issues with the process, like having a primary process or a processing cluster, or in a cluster mode using PM2's cluster mode option, which uses the cluster mode option in Node.js, but using it via PM2 where it spreads it out over multiple cores. Found an article which is pretty interesting actually, and it was the the solution, what I needed. And I didn't need too much out of it. Well, I didn't make every single change that this person made. I did it a little bit differently, but exactly like it was just small changes like the name, using the name here. I didn't want the name to be different because that messes up other code that I have. So I adapted it to what I had, but there's minor changes that I made. And I also added my own environment variable to the process, which is pretty cool. So, and I had to just zoom this in. So let me reset this. Actually, let me put this right there. All right, and let's increase the font here. This is 0. All right. All right, cool. So one of the issues I have is when you're running cron jobs, and this is what's great about doing these live streams. This is what's great about doing stuff outside of your job and what you're quote unquote supposed to be doing and stuff like that. When you go home, doing more work so you can be better at work, not just for work's sake, but just for your career and your future and what you actually want to do. I wouldn't be able to make the strides that I am, or make the tools and make the headway, the progress, whatever else you want to use. I would be able to do that without the work that I do at home, the work that I do outside of, your normal work hours, the continuous progression of my skill, the continuous sharpening of my skill. And you guys are seeing that, there's nothing special to what I do. You see some streams where I just totally fuck up and it'll be like, fuck this shit, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do this no more. And then there's some streams where it's like, hey, listen, we make some headway, we persevere, we go on. So one of the things is the problem I have with something like cron job and working with an app in cluster mode is that I have to make the app. If I run a cron job, it runs it. Okay, so you have multiple replicas or copies of your app running when you use cluster mode or the cluster mode option in PM2, which of course uses the underlying cluster mode framework in Node.js. So it'll run the exact same thing at the exact same time. So if you have a cron job at 8 and you have a 32 core machine, expect 32 freaking emails. It's just like, holy shit, you're gonna have to deal with this, right? So how do you thwart that? Like, do you find some way to, only one process deal with an email, or, that would require message queuing and all types of other stuff? One way is what this gentleman figured out. I was able to actually do a pretty good DuckDuckGo search on this. But PM2, run cron job from single processing cluster mode. And it's like, this is the exact problem that I had. Like, oh my God. And, this is like this year. Is it since 20? Yeah, it's just like this year. Like, the guy just put this up this year. That's really cool. But this is the issue I was having. So it's like, okay, if you have this app, it'll run it multiple times. So this is the declaration of your app, right? And we ran into this yesterday, and it was kind of cool, but I didn't think of it. Oh, sorry. I was like looking up antonyms and synonyms for the word cluster, because I didn't like the word the guy was using, but I used primary and I used something else and it worked out. In this article here, what this guy goes over is, okay, with your app, let's take the whole screen here. Nano system ecosystem config JS. All right, so as you can see, this is an array, so I can have multiple apps. And I was always thinking like, oh, okay, you can just define multiple, like different apps. But I was just like, I never really thought to use like the same app and just call it a different way. So what this person did, and I'll show you what they did on, I'll get to the final thing here, which is pretty nice. You can see how it says, and you'll see the differentiation here better than what I did, because I didn't want to change the actual name here in this field, which is this this variable here, or this key. You can also actually have a name for each one of these environment variables, and it'll reference it and call it there. And I didn't want to make that change. So what I did is I added a special variable here, or a special key here with the right name, or the name that I want. And then I call that later in my own special status tool, or status, what's it called? Special status command for PM2, or using PM2. So yeah, so if you look at console environment name, it'll just show this right here. And then you have these 4 different instances. What you see is a differentiation of one where you have primary. Now that you have primary, now I can say, if primary, then run the cron job. And it's just like, boom, that's it. Like, and that fixed a couple other problems too that I was having as well. Boom. So now you can see where it has primary and then all the replicas. So the way it does this is you put it in cluster mode in terms of its exec mode. And then for instances, you just say 1, right? And that's the primary one. So that is, you can't really think of it as so much of as a master, because it doesn't really have anything to do with the other processes, because they're just clones of one another. It's just this one is named differently. And because this one is named differently, it doesn't take on more of a burden per se. It just doesn't, the cron jobs and certain jobs that only need to be executed once, and especially even still within a cluster mode or in a cluster, those jobs will only be executed once, and you don't need to do any more than that. So doing it this way, I can just say, hey, listen, this instance or copy of this app, you do the cron jobs, and only you do the cron jobs, right? So if there is an issue with this one, that's a problem. So I foresee that as a possible, like the point of failure, single point of failure issue there. You can always do something where maybe you have 2 different copies of it. And then this is where it's good to have bigger, more robust things. And for larger systems, larger distributed systems, especially, is where you start doing a queue, like, using RabbitMQ or Apache, I think Kafka. You can use those things for queuing up certain jobs, and then only that one job is in the queue. It gets pushed in there, and then only one process will take it because it checks it out of the queue. So, but we're not at that point, and I don't want to put anything like that in place because I just don't have like 2 or 3 systems running this. I just don't think I need that much work into it. But it would be definitely something that should be, I think it's definitely something that should be explored, just so that we can, what's it called? Get that experience. Alrighty, so with this, as you can see, apps is, it's a key value pair, it's a JSON object, and the main key is apps. And then you have all the different apps, and the value of that key is an array. So with that, like looking at that, it's like, oh, okay, I can define multiple apps. What's nice about this is you can define multiple of the same app, and then you can say cluster, and then you say 1. So it's clustered, right? All right, cool. But then you have this right here. This is where it changes, not just because of the name here, where I have my own variable instance type, and then instance type, I run code based off of this, an if statement that says, if instance type equals clone, then go ahead and run the cron, don't run the cron job, or run, these processes here or something like that. I can do things like that now. I could probably even add another app instance and say, like, this instance only runs this type of job at the end of the night, and only that instance will run it. So I can do like nicer things like that, or more bespoke things like that, and like for custom jobs to do some type of processing or something like that, so that all the other jobs don't have to worry about it, or all the other apps, or the versions or the clones or the replicas of all the other apps don't have to worry about it. Only that one app worries about it, crunches the numbers, does what it has to, and then all the other versions of it can actually be, taking in API requests, or focusing on API requests more than anything. Also, we don't do anything like maybe oversubscribe the processor in terms of like CPU usage or something like that. We only have one process that does it. Now that is probably not the best idea or way of saying, okay, this is a good idea, because if you work with like distributed systems as I know it, or like, that I've read, because I don't work with distributed systems much, or actually at all, sorry. you know, that's kind of going against what a distributed system is supposed to do. The distributed system is supposed to take over, or the distributed system is supposed to take all of that information and all of the processing, or supposed to distribute the processing over multiple instances of your app or multiple systems and things like that. They're supposed to share the workload. And then by sharing the workload, you get things done faster. So you can work with this, and, you know, depending on your app and what you have to do, you can determine what you want to do with it. You could say, hey, listen, only one instance works on this job while all the other instances work on this job, so on and so forth. But that's kind of like up to you and what you want to do. But for here, now I don't have to worry about, you know, the cron job running multiple times. Only one instance works on that, right? Only one instance does the cron job stuff. I can even have an instance that says instance type cron, and all it does is work on the cron job stuff. And all, like, what it basically handles for the most part in terms of the bulk of what it does is just cron job stuff. So that's just a thought too. So that's kind of cool. So getting out of that, now let's look at what I did in my server index file. And I did some infrastructure work in here too, and made this a little bit more multi-app friendly, if you will. So, and I did update that, or I did send the update over to the Node.js boilerplate script, but I have to figure out the, you know, using the keys to make updates now in GitHub. So I'll probably figure that out tomorrow or tonight. All right. So one thing I did take out is daemon. So I don't have daemon, the daemon variable here anymore because I'm just not using it that way. And that was just linked to the server.js or the service.js file. And you saw the work that we did on that yesterday, and I'll go over that as well and what I did. But I added some new services, and I added some new option or npm run options that you can do for this app and any app really. Also, I added app specific code. So this is a way that I can kind of generalize this index.html or this index.js. And with this index.js, now I can say app specific code is in this file, just like I have with my routes file, just like I have with the cron jobs. So I did like a for in loop on that, which is pretty nice. Just like I did with here. So essentially all the routes are in another file. All the app specific code will now be in another file. And we have our start app entry point. And all I had to do is add this. And then now, because I have app specific code and it'll just be a blank file, I also have to update that in the Node.js boilerplate script. Let's do that now, because I'm going to forget, because I forgot to do it earlier today. So I know I jump around like that a lot, but I like doing this and getting it out of the way. App.js. All right, cool. So app.js, I have the file there, or I have it in my static files here, which is good. So app.js, just got to remember that. And here, and as you can see, I already added the two different, or added the extra app to the ecosystem file, the ecosystem generator function in this script. So let's go down to where all this stuff gets moved. System concerts. Here we go. So there's a service.js. We will do this here, and we'll do static files, app.js, and move it to the same place, app.js. And this is in the same, this is in the root directory of the server directory. So this is just another file within that. So cool. I think that's it for that. And what I like about this script is that you can see, like, we're making changes and then we just easily add one or two things. There are some other things that I still have to do. And this is, again, to fix, you know, a multi-tenant or a multi-app system to fix them, working together. So I had to do some stuff with MongoDB today, which was, I thought, pretty cool. And it uses that instance type variable that we showed before. So you can see here we have app specific code, and I just wanted to be very descriptive with that. I mean, JavaScript coders be like with variables, or JavaScript variables be like, like in terms of the naming convention, this is how it always looks. It looks like super crazy, or in terms of like super descriptive, like, exactly what this is. This is app specific code. What does that variable mean? Shut up. You can read, you dumb bitch. So, but that's kind of like how it works, and that's how you would, hit another program and be like, you should understand this, you dumbass motherfucker. So that's that. Okay, that's probably not going to be good. I'll be just as bad as Activision Blizzard with that if I ran a company doing shit like that. All right, so here I added another conditional. So I have process, environment, correct user. So this whole correct user thing, that's based off of what I was doing with the Growbox project, which is where this stems from, pun intended, because this stemmed from the Growbox STEM project. And I actually started to set up another room here, or set up some of that stuff. I think I mentioned that last time, but trying to get back into that eventually here. So process.environment.instance underscore type equals primary. So if it equals primary, then it'll do all this work in terms of checking if MongoDB is actually running. So the primary instance does a multitude of things now. So it says, oh, okay, does MongoDB work, or runs cron jobs, right? So that would be, yeah, that's in here too for all the different cron jobs. In fact, since this is sub, I don't need to do this here. Take that out. All right, cool. All right, so start all cron jobs. And the reason why I had that is because I didn't make this overall change before. So it doesn't make any sense to do that if statement, because it's already checked here at the top. So no need to go through, deal with the processing of that. Guys, give me a second. Excuse me. I have to go tend to the meats. I am making some ribs and I need to check and flip them. Give me a sec. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that. So, yeah, I'm dealing with these ribs, so I have to. I had it set to. I have a timer set, so every 30 minutes I'll be getting up doing that. It should only be a couple times in this stream that you guys will see, probably 3 more times before I end it. So, but it's probably gonna take about 3 hours to cook that sucker. Probably less than that because I actually put them in totally cold out the freezer. Had to cut the, yeah, it was like a frozen rack of ribs. I almost had like frostbite, like just on my fingers. Trying to like freaking pull that sucker out and pull it and place it and everything and rub like seasoning and all types of other great stuff all over. It's sweet, tasty. But okay, all right. Back to programming. So yeah, so start all cron jobs defined in cron job core. And so we have our jobs here. So yeah, that's all set. So, I mean, we did kind of all of that just so we can have, we can run our cron jobs and it only runs once. Again, with the infrastructure stuff, it's boring, tedious in some cases, or it's tedious. I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's very rewarding once you have your infrastructure code done well enough to where everything works not only properly, but predictably, and it's easy to add other things to it. So now I have a generalized index.js, and with this index.js, by me, making some changes to the npm code to start and stop processes and do other things with the actual project, now I can do even more in terms of adding other code to it. Adding more. Adding more stability type code or stability, what's it called? How would you say this? Stability focused code. So that what that does, it makes sure that our app never stops. So unless the system like fully turns off or has some other issue, this app shouldn't stop. Like I should have multiple replicas running it. If anything, one of the big issues that I'll run into is that I can only have one cron job. I only have one instance running cron jobs, but that can be solved by adding another piece to it, or maybe even some further logic to it. Maybe like a global variable somewhere, which you don't really want to have a global variable in your app for the most part. So I'm gonna stay away from that, but I can do all types of stuff with this. Also, if I look at it, I made some changes to how it reports all this stuff and what it says. It's like, all right, cool, obfuscate bot. And then I could see that, process, or this is PM2 process ID 41. So I can work off of that. And I can actually, do more stuff that's targeted to that via the actual process ID if I wanted to. So if I wanted to delete a single process ID, I can do so, because then I can see, okay, this one is giving me all the errors, or this is the one that's showing me my console log errors that I've put in. But via console log here, I already see that. So these things are nice to actually have, and it works by having proper infrastructure code put in place, or working on your foundation for your code. You can actually build a stronger app in the long run. Also, we can see here apps or instance specific console log. So obfuscate bot is ready. MongoDB start is complete. Like this is only going to be ran by the primary instance. So these are things that I kind of like to do. This is like it was Mr. Villette, I think, in yesterday's stream. He asked, was like, what do you specialize in? And I was like, I really like, I specialize in mostly, I do full stack development, but in terms of what I like to do myself and in terms of my own specialty, not defined by, an employer, is me actually looking at back-end code, working with APIs, working with things like this. I think there's beauty to this, of course, right? So anyways, going on, there wasn't much I changed down here. I made it to where any process should be able to shut down the MongoDB server. If anything, the first one will do it, or the primary instance should do it, or the first one to stop will do it. But, that's a problem as well. So you got to think about that. like I might not want to run this. I might not want this to shut down like this, or maybe I want to run the service dot whatever, and I only want the primary to run the service dot whatever. But or I want to make sure all other processes stop before actually doing the shutdown. Or maybe this is just like a total kill switch and you don't care what happens. So stuff like that, I want to make sure everything's good. Or that's what I have to run into, like, you know, if I have any database issues or something like that, or disconnects when I'm restarting stuff. So yeah, that's what we did in the app or index.js. What did I change? I changed that if statement. So let's replay that to make sure. Yeah, that's what was changed. Cool. And exit out of that. Yeah, boom, and it started. So we can see everything restarts properly. I was having a kind of an issue with that. It wasn't restarting properly. I don't know why it was doing that. But if I look here, I can see that my bot is logged in. All right, so that's good. Now this is a quote unquote proper app, right? So let's look at the service.js, and then we'll look at the app specific code file. So service.js is ran by something else. So 1, 2, here we go. Yeah, I just had it opened in another area. And we see instance here. So like status to JSON. I also added a new trigger, which is the .j. Well, it was already added, but what I didn't do is I didn't add it to my package.json. So that's been that's been updated in the Node.js boilerplate code or script, and also in this app. So for instance, now if I look at my package.json, now I have JSON status dash instance. I'm kind of thinking of changing like the whole instance thing, because it's like I'm not really working with one instance, but yeah, maybe not. But yeah, so I added the -j there, so I got that going. What else do we have here? I made changes into a. No, I didn't make a change here for that. So I made changes in the way this thing was outputted and the way it looks. I did, of course, make that change. I think it was last night. I think I did this on stream, where my my actual output here, it just returns a value. So I did this using a for loop instead of for each. So I converted this for each into a for loop so that I can actually control the return without actually having to use a callback function. Because, you know, it's an asynchronous function when you use the for each higher order function. So I wanted to get around that. So I just used a for loop for that. And there's a little bit more you have to do in terms of just like defining the for loop, and for each makes it a little bit cleaner, if you will. And a lot of that stuff gets done under the hood, but you lose a couple things here. And you also have to, like, what you don't have to do here in terms of this, in terms of starting out everything and laying the foundation for the for loop or iterating through an array, you have to do in terms of your callback. And it's just like, I don't want to do all that. So now if I get out of this and I do my server.js, if we do npm and then run with nothing, then it'll tell you all the possibilities for this script itself. So, or for this app itself. So I have stop instance, and it tells me what the command is and everything else that's going on underneath there. In my case, what I want to do is I want to do JSON status, right? And then it should give me the JSON output of this app itself. So I can, you know, take this, manipulate it, do whatever I need to, and go from there. And then I made it into a function, and I may be able to, like, you know, I might rewrite this, put it in a different place so I can actually use it in other places if I needed to. But this is nice to have, maybe from a dashboard standpoint, to have code like this available. All right, cool. So what was the other thing? I did change reload so I can actually properly reload. I have a better understanding also with like stopping an instance and then using reload to start it back up. We can just do, instead of JSON status, just do plain old status for the instance. And then here, prod primary, here we can see like the custom output. Now, what I like to do, or why I like to do these custom outputs, is because it gives me the information that I quote unquote need. Also, with this, I can run this multiple times. I can run this over and over again and have it display to the output of the screen or anything like that. Whether you know it or not, you can actually write to your TTY device. So you can actually write to your output for your screen, which is pretty cool. In fact, let's go ahead and look at that. In Growbox STEM, I think it's scripts and water, CLI, and system messages. Is it system messages? Yeah. And here, TTY. Oh, let's make this bigger for y'all. What I really need to do is spend time on getting some other stuff looking better. But yeah, so if you could, if you want, you can actually do tty.write. So you can write an actual output to your console. So say you have a server or something like that, right? So if I wanted to, and so let's do Control this F2. So this right here, this like whole screen, I can actually write to it and then have a whole output. So instead of just, you know, having your login or anything like that prompt on your main screen, you can actually have it write like system status message. Shoot, what else can you have it right there? You know, disk usage, monitoring certain processes, monitoring jobs that you might have running or anything else like that. So you can actually write that to your TTY device. But yeah, it's going to be the tty.write. There's more to it than that, I believe. That is like this is like this is bad. No, this is not bash. How did I write this? It says async function, display system status. tty.write. Let's look that up. Linux. How do I write the TTY from kernel module? I want to say there's. This is. Hold on. I think it's defined up here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, there we go. This is how we do it. So you can create in JavaScript or Node.js more specifically. So you can have a const.tty or const tty equals fs create write stream. And then you target the dev tty1 device. Now, this is a virtual device. I don't think you're really actually writing to disk because I had to worry about that when it comes to hold on. Yeah, sorry. Let me turn off. I'll turn off TV later. Sorry. So fs.create write stream. You can write to that TTY device. One thing I was worried about is if it writes to, say, your SD card on a Raspberry Pi device. Well, your SD card has a lifespan. So you want to try and do things. And this is kind of the fun thing when working with different systems and different architectures or different types of systems such as like or devices. So storage devices and all types of other stuff. But you have to worry about things like using memory, not using too much memory, worrying about the memory that you are using and doing garbage collecting. Or do you not want to deal with that and have something that has abstraction layers over that you don't have to worry about garbage collection? So that's a nice thing about working with different things and challenging yourself. But in this case, you have this TTY device, and you do a create write stream, and I can write to that TTY device. So if I do tty.write, or this variable .write, let's go down. Then I start writing all of this stuff here. So it's like I can see what the time is, you know, the OS, the 1 minute load, free memory, uptime, host name, all these different things will actually be put on the screen here. Now, if I needed to log into this device, it writes to TTY1. With Linux, you can actually have multiple multiple terminals that you can actually log into, or TTY devices. In this case, if you do Control Alt and then F1 to I think 7, you have about 7 that you can actually access. And in this case, I go to number 2, and then I can log in, do all my system stuff, and then switch back to TTY device 1, which has my script that overwrites everything that's on that screen. So you can't really use it you can't really use it when you're actually trying to do something on it. All right, give me a sec. Let me do something here. Sorry, had to get some stuff off my glasses and turn the TV off so I can concentrate on the stream. All right, so that's one thing I did in the past. That was a while ago, and this is a really cool project, and you can do just so much with like Raspberry Pis and just Linux, period. All right, so let's get back to it. And for those that are watching in and out or watching the live stream in and out and everything like that, I really do appreciate you all joining. You know, I always tell people, you know, that are catching the playbacks, you know, ask questions, you know, try and join me for the next stream. Yeah, usually I start around between 9:30, 10:30 or so. I used to be a little bit more strict with that, but now it's just, I try to relax a little bit more on my weekends. But I do want to take the time to sharpen my skills and do these things. It helps me, and then as a byproduct, what's it called? I also help you guys as well. So, and at the end of it, so at the end of what you have to do here, I just have it write every 2 seconds, and it just runs all those functions, the earlier functions, and then just goes ahead and does that every, you know, couple seconds there. And when you do this, like this, oh man, this right here, what this does, it clears the previous write. So you do a set interval this is probably what, every 20 seconds, I think. Yeah, I think every 20 seconds it updates everything. But if you wanted to do TT write and then clear the previous like screen and get everything off, you have to do TT write, and then you have to do this code here, which I don't know what that means. Again, hold on. What does printf whatever mean? All right, in C numbers, starting with the leading 0 or octal numbers, number 0, numbers in base 8, what it does is print a character represented by the octal number 33, followed by C, and ASCII. Okay, okay, there we go. All that stuff, like, you know, they had a whole bunch of other stuff going further deeper explanation, which is a great thing about Stack Overflow. You can get what you want, and then you can also get more. So reset all terminal settings to default. So essentially what that does is just clears the screen for you. But yeah, that was a good bit of research, me having to do that. Yeah, I was very pleased when I got this working. This was really cool. So it's just like you can hook up a monitor to the device and then get a reading from it. And like, that's nice because it's like those old school terminal systems that you like, you know, those old school systems where you walk in and it's like, it's like you have to interact with it with special commands and all types of, you know, terminal connectors and you know, all types of other shit. So I was like, I'm a freaking nerd. This is great. Anyway, so still a nerd. So, but yeah, this was actually a good thing to get into. So I was very happy about that. All right, so let's go ahead and close this out Hyper-V. But yeah, so you can do all types of stuff. Like at the point I was making is I can write this. You know, I can write this to the screen if I wanted to, where it just does that every couple seconds or something like that. In fact, y'all want to do it? All right, let's actually, yeah, let's see if we can do that. Where should we put this? We can put this in app specific code. Yeah. All right, cool. So let's define it first. I think this would be pretty cool. Now, the thing is, this is not going to be the greatest thing for, you know, if you have multiple apps running on a system that need to take that information or anything else like that, you know, but we're not worried about that right now. Nano server, and then we do the app.js. Been meaning to show that, of course. So in app.js, like literally, I just have a function called app code, and then that app code gets ran here, or app code gets exported and then ran in the main process. So running app specific code, Discord bot. So what we'll do is we'll add a little bit to app code here. So tty dev tty1. Let's see what else I did here. All right, so if I output, how can we do this? First, we're gonna do set interval. So we're gonna clear the screen and then display system status. Display system status has an actual output, but all that does is it writes, yeah, it just writes stuff. So if I go back up here, sometimes it amazes me the shit that I did in my past. All right, so let's do this function here. tty write. All right, so in this case, tty write, I wanted to output what I get in server.js, right? And that just console logs stuff. So this is where it would be good if I exported that function from service.js. All right, let's see if we can do that. Do we want? We'll do that for now. All right, cool. Let's get to it. Nano server service.js. I don't have a module exports on this. It's a script, so it doesn't run. I could run. Oh man, what could I run? tty write. Okay, so I can do a exec. All right, cool. Let's do that. And get that code from index.js, and then yes. So here we go. I can do child process. So child process exec, and I don't have to do this. I can take this out and run my child process exec there. Boom. All right, cool. Child process exec, and in this case, oh man. So now it runs a child process exec, but I have to be, it has to be targeted, right? So by me doing this, it has to actually be targeted because I don't know if this is going to run within the right directory. Ooh. All right, well, let's do a quick test then, right? So if I get out of here and I cd to here, if I do npm run, yeah, this won't work. This won't work, right? This will not work, right? It will not work. All right, let's just cd to our root directory, but with the way I wrote this script, it's a script, right? So all I have to do is just go to Obfuscate and then server service, and then I can do -j. Cool. So even though it's running, even though it's a script, but when I run the script from another directory, I should be able to still get an output like this. So yeah, we'll just do that. And we won't do, and we'll spice this up because we'll use some of our variables and make this to where it's like, you know, it can be referenced from multiple places, or it can be referenced in multiple apps. One of our variables from our core variables, but we can use that. So our core var, like install directory and all that other stuff. All right, so not bad. No paid plus to the plus plus. This is one thing I had to work on, is like figuring out paydays. Like I think I mentioned that yesterday. All right, cool. So here, so I'll save that there. I'll move this off to another screen. It's not really needed. So what I want to look at is, let's go back to index.js here. CD opt obfuscate, and then we want to do install. So core vars install dir. So we're gonna do a template literal here, and we're going to say core vars install dir. Right, so that should get us to our obfuscate /server /service.js, and then the command we're going to run is our -s for status. Then we should get our standard output, and that standard output we'll write to TTY. Simple, right? All right, so now the only thing, that's not a problem. I was going to say the only thing is like console log, but I'm not worried about that because I want it to console log, and then I'm going to catch that console log, or that console log should be catched by std out. All right. I don't care about errors. Yeah, I don't care about errors. I'm going to do a tty.write. Oops, that in the wrong file. That's what I'm going to do. tty.write, and then standard out. I think that's it. Let's see how much we fucked up. All right, cool. Loop. All right, so I'm on console 2. tty.write std out. Yeah, that should be it. Core vars, install vars, this, std out there. I think that's, let's change this to every second. Is that 1,000? Yeah, 1,000 should be every second. Or let's do it every 5 seconds. So take a second to start up. Oh, we got a problem here. We're missing something. Argument list. Where is this? Come on, stop. App.js line 15. All right, so 15. Oh, okay, so I gotta end it properly here. Okay. What is not defined? FS is not defined. Okay, cool. So let's go here. FS. Hard to read it when it scrolls like that. You see, you just kind of have to wait sometimes, and it'll just die and won't try anymore. But kind of get used to it, and you can follow it. All right, cool. So FS is defined. Everything else is in place. Child process is not defined. So child process. Okay, so here. Okay, child process. Where do we get child process from? System. My meat's back in. All right. Let's see here. Let's fix this. Excuse the noise in the background. All right. So that should fix that. Some other errors that I saw, so I want to see that. What happens with that later. And we can also focus on dev TTY2 as well, but in this case, we'll just do TTY1. So Control F1. Oh, look at that. It works. Sorry, I can't like zoom in on this, but you can see it clears it and then runs everything and shows us. So that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What I can do to make this a little bit better is, since it shows everything at the top, add a couple line breaks there. And it should run this code again. Oh, my beeping stopped. Good. Oh wait, that's the wrong spot. You should be okay. This is why you don't code in front of people, Michael. In this case, I'll make it a template literal, and then in, and then with the template literal std out, which is passed. Okay, there we go. So now it should move down a little bit. But as you can see, it'll write to the T2I device, and it should update here in a second. Boom, there we go. So things like that are pretty nice. You know, you can chicken wings are ready. No, man, we're doing ribs tonight, bro. Ribs. I've had that rack of ribs in there since, like, I think Memorial Day in that freezer. So I think they're still good. But yeah, I've had them in there for a while. But yeah, I got to go flip them to make sure they're evenly cooked. I did some. I think I prepped them pretty nicely, and I just like did it. I didn't marinate it or anything else like that. So there's a lot of work you got to do when you're not marinating something. So like one is like flipping it on a regular basis. I have it literally. I have a baking pan, and then all my seasonings, a little bit of water, right, just so I can get like a broil effect, if you will. Or so some steam can go right through the bottom of the ribs. And so that's all seasoned. Then I had my barbecue sauce seasoned with jerk seasoning, which is like one of my favorite seasonings, or, jerk seasoning. And then put some honey in that, mix that all up with a fork in a bowl, and then started, putting it in different places. And then in the pan, I have a whole like bed of onions, and it's lumped up underneath, like directly underneath the meat, along with some bell peppers. Some bell peppers. And then of course all that seasoned, a little bit of barbecue sauce in that in the middle, and then lay the rack of ribs over that, which is like frozen. And so now that boiling water should start to steam up into the ribs from the bottom, and then I have to flip it every so often. But yeah. Chicken wings are ready. This guy. Hey, Miguel, I love the dude. Okay, stay right there. I love that. Hey, bro, again, go ahead and post your link in here for those people that, catch the replay on this. But go ahead and post your link to your streaming. But Miguel's a good friend of mine, and he's got his own little logo. I like that. Looking like somebody's dad. I'll be right back. right. Sorry about that. Yeah, man. That's a nice symbol there. Yeah. So sorry about that, guys. That was a little bit harder to flip that set of meat right there, because now I can finally cut it, and then also when it's like heated up, it's not frozen. It's harder to control. But anyways, we can see that, you know, by doing something like this, I can output text onto the screen, and by making this service.js script, I can just use child process.exec at a certain interval every 5 seconds, and then it'll show me, like, you know, what's going on the screen. And I can do this with, like, you know, I can stagger this if I wanted to, if I have different apps running, and then they'll show me all the stuff that's going on with the app. But yeah, so that's not the, I mean, it's not the best thing to do right there, you know, for multiple apps or anything like that. But if you have one system that's running one app and it has, like, you know, multiple cores or what have you, you can actually, you know, do something like this. All right, cool. So we'll get rid of that code actually. And so actually let's do this here. Do I want to get rid of this? I'll never use it. Yeah, I don't plan on using this. All right, cool. So that's done there. Boom. Restart the app. Boom. There you go. From there. I do want to look at some of the errors that were produced earlier. I'll probably end the stream a little bit early tonight. I had a freaking crazy headache, but that's probably mainly due to what I've been eating. Weekends, I go crazy with junk food, so hence the ribs. Yeah, so this right here, these errors is because it's trying to shut down MongoDB, but it's not running, which is okay. Yeah, it's okay for now at least. And I can actually have that run only on the primary process to run that too. I can figure that code out. Yeah, so no more updates on our screen. Woohoo. That sucks. But yeah, that's a really nice thing in terms of, you know, what you can do with scripting. You know, if you write it the right way, it can easily be reused. And you can do things like that where you can just output it to the actual main screen. All right, cool. So what else do we have to go through? So app-specific code. So as you can see here, really there's nothing serious in here yet, right? So my Discord bot, it's just app code. It says console running app-specific code, and then it just runs it and then goes from there. So, but I'll have everything contained within this in the app code function, and there shouldn't be anything else that I should put in here, like maybe other variables, maybe other functions, but not really needed. My routes file, I have that already handled. So this is all the backend stuff that will do, you know, I can import other modules in here or other files, require other files, so that I can actually, you know, export modules from other files, and just like I could do here, and then run them in here, and then this gets picked up by the main process and ran from there. So I mean, that's it pretty much for that. From here, once you're done with that, let's think about this. The glasses are being annoying right now. What do they need? I thought I had something here. Yeah, I do. To clean my glasses. So as boring as it is sometimes, and I know this is not the most exciting stuff to go through, but working with infrastructure code or, you know, backend code like this can be very fulfilling in terms of what it means for your overall system and your career. I mean, a lot of people, and I went over that earlier, but a lot of people want, you know, coders that can actually make systems that are somewhat indestructible. And if not indestructible, but that can actually, or not just indestructible, but that actually communicate and, tell you, hey, listen, something's going on, something's wrong. Send out an email when you have this error. Write a function that just sends out emails if there's an error or a process runs into an error, right? Have some type of checks and balances. Have a framework for an app that, a solid framework that you can use, and you can say, oh, okay, when I run this and I call this function every time there's an error, right? So if you do a try catch block or something like that, or even a dot then dot catch dot finally, in your dot then and catch and or within your dot catch for catching your errors, you can always have a function that emails if an error is actually shown, or outputs to a database or something like that. So once you have those functions in place, or that framework in place, then it's just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Like I just integrated that whole, right to the main screen. Like I just integrated that pretty quickly. That wasn't anything crazy to do. And those are kind of the nice things once you actually have a good foundation in place. Just like with anything in life, if you have actual good foundation in place, a lot can be done. Alrighty, so in this case, I'll have, running app-specific code, Discord bot, and then with the start Discord bot. So that Discord bot file, let's go ahead and look at that. One, get out of here, nano server, controller, Discord bot, right? And I still have my .test file where I do all my other stuff, but I'll start integrating more code into this here in a moment. All right, so, or here in our future streams. I think I'm gonna end this one because my head's hurting and I'm just gonna sit down and watch cartoons. Took a couple of days off this week. Just needed a little bit of break, and had some other stuff come up as well. So, all right, it's cool. Start bot. As you can see here, we have all pretty much the same things that we had in the test file. I just copy and pasted the little small stuff that I needed, and then I export, start bot, and then from there I call start bot here in my app specific code function. Now, like you see all these things build on top of one another, they connect and so on and so forth. And you do this because you want to have a quote unquote cleaner code, and you want to do things in small snippets. Now, this gets really crazy when you have a whole bunch of small files, and it's like, you have to do 2 to 3, 4 files deep just to get to like the function that causes this function to, fuck up somehow, right? It's just like, damn, that's annoying. I do this mainly so like all my Discord stuff is going to be in here, but then I'm going to have to deal with Discord helper function, or splitting up some of the stuff that I have with Discord in terms of answering certain messages and things like that. But at the main, for the main part, the entry point for my app, I might change, this Discord bot. I might change, how it's executed, or where, or, the execution. I might change how how things are pulled into the app itself, and where things get written to and stuff like that. And, I'll have stuff within the controller folder that will run the app, and then do all the other, special things that I want to do, like RSS feed, injecting messages for RSS feeds or from RSS feeds, and doing that on an interval. And also being descriptive with it as well. Do I want to output that to my main console so that you can see everything, or so I can see when things are being ran? After a while, you don't want to do that. You want your main console to be for just errors, because if you start outputting everything that the system is doing, then, saying, hey, running this, running that, running this, running that, and all these different jobs, that's okay for a little while. But after a while, that starts to fill up your whole screen, and you don't want that. And then it kind of gets into the way of what that is for. So that's just something you have to worry about. But I'm not at that point with this. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Client once ready, and then token, and then go from there. All right, so that's it for this stream. I'm going to end it early tonight. For the most part, we focused on reviewing what the changes I made in the infrastructure code, and I will have to figure out how to get the whole GitHub portion up and running. It's going to require like keys, and it's going to be a whole bunch of off-screen stuff. So I don't really want to go through that with you. I don't want to do that now anyway. That's one. And then two, I don't want to go through all of that on stream. I guess that'd be something for making a video, but I haven't made a video in weeks, man. Oh God. There's like so many topics, really good topics that I have notes for, but I do have to start getting back to making videos. And I actually am going to be doing a discussion with a woman of the space, a fellow member of the space, Topaz, and she supposedly is not supposedly, but she's a what's it called? She's a social worker, and I want to talk about adoption. Want to talk about, is that a viable option for a single man to actually adopt a child? Is that what you want? And that's just on the manosphere community level stuff. But yeah, that's it for now. For those that are watching live, I appreciate you guys staying tuned here. And I'll see you guys next week. And listen, do things to improve your skills outside of work. Don't just go to work and do work. I mean, at that point, you're just a slave. You're not doing anything for yourself. Do more for yourself by doing more by yourself. Read, sharpen your skills, do streams, watch more videos. Not just videos that are in entertainment or even infotainment, but videos that will allow you to really, do better at work per se, and then at the end of all that, you're not just doing that so you can do better for your job. You're doing that so you can do better for yourself and your family and actually go for further advancement. And a part of getting further advancement, or a part of doing things to get further advancement, is so you can advance in your career. And then you have to sharpen your skills to do that sometimes. And because when you start to look at saying, hey, listen, I want a higher paying job, well, that higher paying job is going to ask for more things. So do what you're supposed to do. Or like I used to say, and I'll leave it off with this, do what you're supposed to do even when no one's looking. And a part of that is doing the things that you need to do to improve yourself when no one's there to actually push you. All right. With that, I will exit out of here. Guys, thanks as always. Thanks for struggling with me on these streams. And I will do better at some point so I can go ahead and give you guys a better quality stream. But yeah, I'll probably have to talk to Mr. Izaz here. Izaz, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'll probably have to talk to him about getting better quality streams. He seems to know a lot about that. Alrighty, peace.